If you run a distribution business and you're currently researching what CRM system or software you need, I've got something to tell you. We are going to talk about how distribution actually works and what digital tools it actually needs. So let's get into it. Now, before we dive in, let's get clear on for whom this video is. First, it's for anyone selling physical products, B2B. And the word products matters here because I'm not talking about projects or services. So you buy a large batch from a manufacturer, like clothing, office supplies, spare parts, whatever it happens to be, and you resell it downstream to the retail stores or smaller wholesalers or end users, but the keyword is in wholesale. That creates a three-link chain: supplier, you, and a customer. And right in the middle of that chain sits your warehouse, which has to be managed. That warehouse is where your biggest daily headache lives: purchasing. You collect orders from 10 different customers for 5 different products from 5 different suppliers. And you have to pull all that together and place so-called consolidated purchase orders with those suppliers. If that's the puzzle you're solving every single day, that's video for you, and this is what I call distribution. Now, second, this video is for businesses that have grown past €1 million in annual revenue, ideally 2.5 million, and that have to be at least 2 people in the same role. For example, 2 warehouse workers, 2 customer support representatives, and so on. If you recognize your business in that description, this video is for you. Now, that said, this video isn't for everyone. If you distribute specialized equipment that needs to be installed, let's for example say kitchen equipment for new hotels, then on paper you are a distributor, but in practice you are an implementation partner because your contracts include services, not just products. If that's you, we'll cover that kind of business separately in another video. But today is about classic product distribution. Now that we know who this video is for, let's break down how distribution actually works, because the answer to what CRM do I need starts right here. In distribution, everything revolves around the customer. In construction, for example, the business revolves around the project. In insurance, around the policy. For you, it's the customer. And because of that, you end up with 2 kinds of reporting. The first is by customer: who bought, how much, and when. The second is by product: what's moving, how to price it, what's high margin, what's not. Customer and product, those are 2 pillars the distribution stands on. So in this video, I'm going to cover both sides: building customer relationships, how to serve your customers, how to spend less doing it, and how to grow the average order. E-commerce and its role in modern distribution, and warehouse management. Let's start where sales should start: acquiring customers. From a CRM perspective, this is the simplest part of your business. Meaning, from a software standpoint, very simple tooling is all you need. And here's why. Acquisition in distribution is pretty straightforward. Leads come to you from trade shows, cold calls, maybe occasionally ads, which by the way don't work really well in this industry, and maybe search traffic. And if you are the exclusive distributor for a brand, customer would find you on their own. There's simply no other supplier in the region. From there, your job is to get the customer to their first purchase. You make contact, figure out what they need, and run so-called QIC, check the paperwork, the company registration, the VAT number if you are in US, some other numbers, whether there is a conflict of interest, whether you are even allowed to sell into that region. Then they place their first order, usually something like a minimum volume, something like that. For some businesses, that's 300 euros. For others, that's 200,000. It depends on your industry. For this entire journey from lead to first purchase, a simple something like Kanban board is enough. That's all the tooling you need at the acquisition stage. But when a customer places their second order, they become a repeat customer, and that's where the real problem shows up. The problem is retention. The classic CRM customer relationship playbook says, assign a rep, have them check in with customer now and then, build the relationship, but that rarely keeps anyone coming back. A phone call every few months isn't a reason to reorder. It just doesn't work that way. There are only 3 levers that bring a customer back. Let's walk through each of them. The first one is offering the best price on the market, but that's a weak lever because someone will always be willing to undercut you. Now, the second is being easiest to work with. For example, offering better payment terms instead of prepayment, say net 15, net 30, net 60, net 90, essentially extending credit to your customer. Or fast delivery, where the product is always in stock because you know exactly which items to keep on hand and when. Now, the third is lowering so-called transactional cost. Now, to simply put, it's about making the buying process as easy as possible. This is the lever everyone ignores, so let's dig into it. Take this example. I recently needed a coffee machine for the office, so I called the company that services ours, the official distributor for the brand I wanted. Their website didn't even list the machine, so I called them, they promised to send me a quote, and then nothing for 2 days. I called again, yes, sending it now. 3 days later, still nothing. So I gave up and bought the same machine elsewhere online. 300 euros more, but delivered the next day. Now look at what happened. I was already their customer. I bought from them regularly, and they had my contact details and full order history, exactly what any CRM gives you. And they still lost the order simply because buying from them was too much of a hassle. That's transactional cost in action. Make it hard to buy, and the customer leaves. So how do you get rid of that friction? It's actually pretty simple. Look at the situation through your customer's eyes. They want to place an order whenever it suits them, late in the evening or on a weekend between two meetings, sometimes in the middle of the night. But your sales rep works only 9 to 6. Somebody has to adjust, and it's definitely not going to be the customer, which means you need to be available around the clock. And the only thing that can give you that is e-commerce, essentially a website. But not all websites do the job. Anyone can slap together a catalog with no stock levels or no delivery estimates, and that won't keep a single customer coming back. What you need is a convenient website. One that shows how many units are in stock right now, when the product will arrive, or if it's out of stock, and if the exact date is unknown, how long this product usually takes to come in from this particular supplier based on real statistics. And the statistics have to be real, not made up, which happens more often than you think. No employee, no matter how experienced, can tell you the exact average lead time from a given supplier. Software that's been tracking this data for years actually can. And that right there is what actually makes you more attractive than your competitors. Not a prettier website, not a friendlier sales rep, but the ability to give the customer data that makes their decision easy. When people see this item arrives on this date in this quantity, they feel a sense of control. And a person who feels in control makes decisions faster and with less hesitation. Don't just take my word for it. A Gartner study from before the e-commerce boom really took off found that inventory visibility alone can lift conversion by up to 27%. Simply being honest about your stock levels is already a boost to sales. And B2B buyers behave exactly the same way the regular consumers do. If I land on a website and can't tell whatever product is in stock or when it will arrive, I simply won't order. No sense of control and no decision to be made. Now that we looked at both acquisition and retention, let's come back to the big question. What system does a distributor actually need? Look at what we found. Acquiring new customers is easy. A Kanban board handles it. Keeping your regulars is hard, and that's exactly where your focus should go. So if you're a distributor deciding where to invest, build a great retention system and give your customers the right tools. Do that, and you can bring in 200 new customers a day if you like. The system will easily digest them. Now, let's break down what that retention system is actually built from. You will need a warehouse system, an online store, and optionally, analytics on top. Let's go through them one by one. The first one is a warehouse system, and there are a lot of options, but after a very detailed investigation and some experience with some of the softwares available on the market, there are two options: Cin7 and Unleashed software. Both are versatile enough to cover almost any warehouse management scenarios, like purchasing, back orders, pre-orders for when the shelves are empty, consolidating orders from multiple customers into a single purchase order to a supplier, and allocation when part of an incoming batch is already reserved for specific customers while the rest is still available. With that information flowing straight into your online store. A good warehouse system does more than that too. It knows about bins, the storage locations in your warehouse. It can build optimal picking routes, print packing labels, and integrate directly with carriers like FedEx, DHL, UPS, or your local equivalent. It also needs to track payments and invoices, meaning it has to work with your accounting software, whether that's Xero, QuickBooks, or FreshBooks, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which one you use. The moment a payment comes in, the warehouse system sees it and the order status updates right away. If your business is large, you're already at the ERP level, systems like SAP, Sage, NetSuite, or Dynamics 365. One warning though, actually implementing the systems is hard, and here's why. vendors make their money on licenses and barely bother with support. Their technical specialists are usually strong programmers, but they don't quite grasp the software doesn't live in a vacuum. Find a good implementation partner and be prepared to dig inside personally, because nobody understands your business better than you do. Now, the second one is an online store. This is the part your customers actually see. I usually recommend Shopify. It's easy to customize, and on the whole, it's a solid product. But it has one serious drawback. The built-in customer portal is extremely limited. For example, if a customer's order is split across several shipments, some items arrived, some on back orders, Shopify can't natively consolidate that into a single delivery. The best it can do is 2 separate shipments under the same tracking number, which is quite clumsy. That's why we always build a custom customer portal, a separate account area that pulls its data straight from the warehouse system. Of course, there are alternatives. Take Magento, for example. It's old and heavy with a massive code base, slow to work with, and it needs skilled developers to implement. Still, you can build almost anything on it if you are willing to put in the work. Or take, for example, an open cart, which is simpler overall, but its shipping features are weak, so you will end up building that part yourself. And then there is PrestaShop, a French open source platform, which is also worth considering, which raises a fair question. If open source is better, why do I still usually recommend Shopify? And the answer is simple. We think not only about the moment of implementation, but about where the client will be 5 years after we finish the project. And open source solutions tie you to a single developer or vendor. If they disappear, so does your support. With Shopify, there is a company behind it, and you're paying them a monthly subscription specifically to keep the site running. 5 years from now, it will still be up because that's literally their only job. And the third one is customer analytics, and this one is fairly optional. If you want to track lifetime value and metrics like that, you have 2 routes. The first is so-called BI tools, or business intelligence. Data flows in from all your sources and you simply read the dashboards. That tends to suit smaller companies without a heavy daily operational load. The second route is a fully fledged CRM system, something like, again, Salesforce. There you don't look at the data, you work with it. You open a customer's record and see every detail, every support ticket, every call, every contact, and you manage the whole account right from there, from one window, while your e-commerce portal feeds off the same system. That's the option for companies with lots of customers and a very small team. It's how you spend less time and money serving each customer. There is no universal recommendation here. It has to be judged case by case. So that's really the whole picture, a warehouse system and e-commerce with a customer portal. And on top of that, if you wanted analytics or a full CRM. If you run a distribution business and want help figuring out which of these actually suits you, drop a comment, find me on LinkedIn, or leave a request on our company website. And if it's urgent, book a free 30-minute consultation, a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and hit that like button. That really helps with support. See you next time. Peace.